season's over. The game's over. The season's over. It's done. 33-25. Purdue over IU. Another loss, ninth straight loss. It's a 1-11 season for the Hoosiers. We're sitting here in the Memorial Stadium press box for the final time this year. As always, I'm joined by Alex McCarthy and Justin Albers. I'm Max McCombs. Guys, what do you think about what we saw today?
Well, it was at times it seemed like it was really close. At times it seemed like it was that Purdue was going to run away with it there at the beginning of the fourth quarter when they scored pretty quickly in succession to make it 33-17. I thought, oh boy, IU stayed with them for three quarters and now Purdue's just going to run away with it. But then we saw that big drive from IU to score, and it ended up being a pretty close, pretty kind of dramatic last few minutes. Of course, there was that interception, which I'm sure people will be talking about for a long time after this. But not a terrible performance to end the season for IU. Better than ending it after last week's loss, probably for their sake.
Yeah, that's true, definitely, and I think you have to wonder since they had their moments, they were close. They maybe even feel like they should have won this game because there was a very controversial interception call in the fourth quarter that maybe this leaves them hungrier than almost any other result could, and so maybe this is best going forward. Justin, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's true, and I mean the thing that I keep coming back to from this game that you can almost tie into almost any other game this year is their complete lack of urgency in the middle quarters. It just seems like they always jump out to a lead or they're close after the first quarter, and that was the case again today. They jumped out 17-10, but then the middle quarters, it seems like they got a field goal in the second quarter, didn't score in the third. So it's like, where did that offense go? It's almost like they relax or they get bored in the offense, and then once the other team goes ahead by a score or two, then they find that sense of urgency again and start scoring. And I mean, that's something you deal with a young team a lot, but it's something that continued throughout the year that you wonder maybe if they have another win or two to their name if they play well in the middle quarters. But as far as the loss being a positive going forward, I think that's probably true because the fact that it is a rivalry game and the fact that players could somehow turn a negative season into a positive because they beat Purdue at the end of the year, almost like nothing else matters, when in reality everything else does matter, especially with a young team going forward. So hopefully they use this 1-11 season as a building block, as something where this is what happens when we don't play the way or when everybody doesn't buy in for the whole season under Coach Wilson, and then you have all the young guys playing. So going forward, you think you would have something to build on next year.
Mm-hmm. I think this is if a 1-11 season can ever be seen in a positive light, I think this season that the Hoosiers had might be the one, because it was a season where, with just so much new to it, a new coach, new whole coaching staff, new system that they're playing in, and by the end of the year, when the team was largely playing their best ball of the season, it was new players who we hadn't seen before. A lot of the guys leading the team today were guys playing in their first bucket game, mostly freshmen such as Mark Murphy on defense and D'Angelo Roberts at running back, and then even a sophomore, but also playing in his first bucket game, Stephen Houston, who, especially towards the end of the season, was really emerging as a star on this offense. And those guys are all going to be back for multiple seasons. So there really is a lot to build on with what we've seen, even if what we saw so far didn't have the direct results that the team hoped for.
Yeah, that really seemed like the sentiment after the game, in interviews with players, when Coach Wilson was talking at his press conference. A lot of the conversation was centered on what they could take out of the season, what, guys like Mark Murphy or Trey Robertson, Stephen Houston, guys like that can take out of this 1-11 season, take out of this game specifically. A lot of it was centered around that kind of stuff. And Andrew McDonald, a senior, said that these guys have really bought into the system, a little bit more as the season has gone along. And Wilson said that people like Stephen Houston are going to have really a big opportunity to come to this program, play a year, and then, based on their play this season, they're going to become leaders for a couple years to come. Guys who lead by example, guys who are going to become vocal leaders for this team on and off the field. So a lot of what IU is thinking about right now is that future. And a line that I really liked from Wilson's press conference was that, just because the guys are young, just because they played a lot as youngsters, doesn't mean that the future is bright. But that definitely seemed to be, at least the hope of a lot of the graduating guys like Jeff Thomas, Andrew McDonald, and like the coaches who are going to be around here next season.
Mm-hmm. Since you mentioned it, Alex, just to describe the play you were talking about on the play that was ruled an interception, Nick Stoner for IU went up to grab the ball, and it was joint possession with a defensive back there, or it appeared to be. And the Purdue guy wrestled away from Stoner once they hit the ground, and they called it interception, so the play wasn't reviewable. Even though I think most people that saw the replay, I didn't see the replay, but most people that saw the replay tend to agree that Stoner caught the ball and IU would have the ball at about the Purdue 15, down by 8 points, 4 minutes left or so, with a chance to go in and potentially tie the game. So
could have potentially really changed the outcome of the game, and I think that's why some people were so positive going out of it is they may have played a game good enough to win today, and I think they view to some extent that maybe the win was taken away from them in that regard. And
it's a positive too to see that this team, despite everything that it's gone through this year, has continued to come back week after week and play with a renewed sense of energy at the beginning of these games. I mean, to go to East Lansing last week and lose 55-3 in the most embarrassing fashion possible, and they've had several of those this year, but they continue to come back. And so it seems, once Wilson got some of those other negative influences out of the program, like these guys are buying in and like they do believe in his system. But you just have to wonder, maybe going forward, how long do they continue to believe in his system until they start seeing wins?
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the seniors were very positive that the foundation was there. And then I think Wilson, in his press conference earlier tonight, was as well. But he also talked about how the key is they have to improve on this. If this is the way they continue to play, they're not going to win because they're not winning now. And I think it seems to me that he was very quick to put the accountability for that largely on the coaches, whereas some of the players he talked to put the accountability on themselves. And so I think the team has the right attitude going forward of not relying on other people to get better. And I think the team is holding itself individually and as a team very accountable right now. And I think that bodes well for the future.
Yeah,
for them, it tells me that they're really buying into Wilson's system, and that the guys left, as we've said, there's been a lot of attrition with this team, and a lot of people we thought would be big parts were not this season. But it tells me that the guys left are buying into the system, and that would coincide with, as we said, playing some of the best football of the year.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, guys taking this accountability for such a young team. There's been a lot of maturity as the season's gone along. Even at the beginning of the year, some of these younger guys really weren't great interviews, weren't really that confident when they came to us. But then as the season went along, some of these guys really opened up and got really comfortable and really confident, and really accountable for their actions, and really had the team's best interest. It seems like they had the team's best interests at heart, not just their own.
Yeah, I think there are positives to take away from this going forward, but unlike this year, we've been able to see how something is going to affect the team each week. It's going to be a lot longer than that. It's the off season now, and it'll be a new team next year. So for the last time, I'm Max McCombs, joined by Alex McCarthy and Justin Albers. Take care, everyone.